Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to It's the Bearded Man podcast with your favorite, the world's favorite bearded man, Bobbbaaaay. Each week with our guest episodes, I try to put the spotlight on someone who, in my eyes, is tapping into their inner potential. Today's guest was both born and raised in Cambridge and Wayland, Massachusetts. He's a recording artist and producer. You might know him for songs All Night Longer, LA Story with my guy Mike Posner, Driving Me Crazy, Blow Up, or Helluva Night. His most recent release single, Drip, just came out back in May. This is someone who I've been watching from afar for well over a decade. Some know him as Boston's boy, other know him as The Wiz. Today on the podcast, Sammy Adams, baby. How we doing?
Oh my guy.
Dude, this is a pleasure. And I love that you're wearing the Pats hat and you're in Massachusetts recording this podcast. I love it. I absolutely love it, man.
You know, it's like I get clapped a lot. Like, oh, you live in Brooklyn, you should be Brooklyn's boy. It's like, relax.
Pump the brakes.
Just relax. Like, we still got the house in Boston. Got a couple different properties. Mind your business.
Yeah, mind your business. You also got Bill Belichick's number on speed dial. So I think you got to stay Boston's boy.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Bill's one of the best, because what people don't understand about Belichick is he literally, he's just throwing out live bait to the reporters, and he's not like that in real life. Like, he's the absolute man.
Yeah,
like he's just a stud.
When you see him on camera, he's dialed in, man. That's why he's where he is with his career, because he's just so focused. So you're not gonna get the emotion out of him. And that's just Bill. You can't expect anything more from him.
He's wearing his, before he was even coach of the Patriots, tattered sweatshirt. Like, he's not showing up in a white suit like Sean Payton,
No.
He's doing exactly what he wants, how he wants to do it, and that's the MO I've always loved about him. But I mean, it's good to be back in Mass, to be honest.
Yeah. Honestly, and similar to you've always kind of carried yourself as this is who I am. This is take it or love it, especially as before we were just jumping on this podcast, watching you come up as, you were in your early 20s, obviously a massive, huge community of people that were supporting you, were the college day, colleges, I know early Barstool Sports, but even seeing you outside looking in, over the years of hey, I'm not just a frat rapper, I've evolved, I've grown. And you've never let that mindset really, or that identity kind of cloud you to not evolving as an artist and as a human being.
Yeah, I mean, it's also easier than ever now to put a label on something and for that to be kind of broadly kind of stigmatized by whoever's on social media. It's there's so many different parts of a Twitter or an Instagram or something where, someone can just read a bunch of comments and if they're reading 200 comments of people that are just trolling you, it's I feel that less people do research for what people have done for projects. And it happens to me all the time where, they're like, oh, well, what happened to you after All Night Longer? It's oh, I only dropped 100 other songs, you fucking bozo. So
you're living under a rock.
So it's but at the same time, it's I feel when you grow up and people are talking shit and trolling you, trolling wasn't even a word. It's just someone that is a hater comes up to you to your face and says some shit. It is by far worse than someone behind a keyboard that probably lives in their mother's basement. Bro. Those type of things you learn when you get to a certain level of success. It's not even worth saying anything back to these people. Because to be honest, it's you're just playing yourself. If you're confident as an artist, as a producer, a songwriter, singer, anything, there's so many different things you can do coming from music. You have multiple options, but if you kind of tap into the hateful negative side, you don't keep your parallels open, and that's where you ultimately clap yourself. So your growth is a lot slower. And I've lived in Boston New York, LA, back to New York. And people just, people come and go as fans, but at the same time, it's like when we were talking before we started the interview, it's like you got to make stuff and be yourself in whatever you do, whether it's my production, whether it's songwriting for someone. You have to believe in it, otherwise it's hard to sell it to other people. But yeah, it's been a wild ride, like going from going number one and charting on Billboard top 20. It's wild. Like I never really thought we'd ever even hit that so fast. And then touring for almost 12 years. It's wild because, in Massachusetts and New England, it's like, it was crazy to kind of like solidify that household name. And with that obviously comes a shit ton of hate, but I've never really paid attention to it. And I've always made a point for my team to be like, you're better than this. So as much as it sucks, like, look, if someone like spits on you at a club, go ahead, have at it. but we're not writing back to people on Instagram.
Yeah, the way I've always looked at it, and I've felt fortunate enough where I don't have millions of people following me or checking in on my Twitter, so there really hasn't been the opportunity for hate. But I've always looked at it as, if there's people that are typing away and hitting you with negativity, whatever it might be, whether it's your career, whether it's anything about your life, I've always looked at it as, if they have the time and energy to look at what you do and formalize an opinion and then spit it out, they don't even have their shit figured out. Because as soon as you start figuring out the things you want to do with your life and where you want to go, who you want to become, you're so absorbed in doing what you need to do that you don't have the time or energy to feed to that bullshit. And the only time you're going to feed energy to other people is people that you see that are on the same path as you, of like trying to become a better version of yourself, or, trying to do the unthinkable. But I've always looked at any type of negativity, even if it's seeing one person comment to another person, and I'm not even part of it. I just go, I have empathy for that person that is spitting the hate, because they don't even know what they want to. The fact that they're spitting hate to the world just shows that there's a deeper problem underneath them.
Of course, and that's like, that's kind of like one of the funniest fucking things I've seen. I think wifey said me, or like one of our fans sent it to her, and it was like, why are you mad at me and bullying me because I'm ugly? like what the fuck? And it's like, that's what it's kind of come to in this day and age, where it's like there's an art to trolling in a funny manner, but just like the super like kind of, is this dude serious type of hate? It's like, it's easier for you to not like, you don't have to face negativity every day. Like for me, I don't wake up and jump on Instagram or jump on Twitter. Like I wake up, I get, my routine in order and shit, and live a couple hours before tapping into any of that. Smart. And it's like you said, it says more about the people that are just like crushing your comment section than it does about you, because it's like back in the day, like 2011, 2012, it was hard to not be like, okay, like we're the same age, like I'll clap back at you, but then you realize it's really not worth like the time and effort. And more than likely, like success has always been the best revenge for me, regardless of who didn't like me. So I'm like, you're gonna be really big tight when I have another platinum plaque on my wall.
Yeah, you're using that as just fuel to the fire. Like you're talking trash, but just watch what I got coming your way next.
Yeah, it's like, dude, congratulations. You have to buy 2 tickets to my show because your girlfriend's a fan. Have a good one. Have a good day.
I freaking love that. This podcast is really all about helping people reach their inner potential, whether it's having the confidence to do the things they want to do, or just kind of being fuel to the fire if they're already in the direction of where they're going. One really important first step to anybody reaching their inner potential, to me, is you have to identify what is it that you want to do. You have to tap into that inner voice that's like, you're in a space now where you have consistently trusted and listened to your gut and heart that you don't overthink it anymore, because it's just like you know that you just intuitively just listen to your gut and you execute and maybe things don't play out, but you always adjust. It's been a journey for you where I think it was 7, you had started playing piano, then 11, you started making beats. Then it's not till Trinity and Hobart College where you finally start making music in your dorm room. But was there a moment that you recognized like music's the path, or this might be like the life or career that I wanted to do, or did it just slowly kind of evolve for you?
Like, to be honest, like the path of like getting into music more seriously was like, it was always just kind of too far fetched. Like, from even like going to music attorneys, like when I was in college and playing them shit, I got turned down by 10 different people for Boston's Boy, like music attorneys and agents and shit. And I thought they were all cap. And I was like, this is insane, because like when I play this at my school, like, and they were like, how many shows have you done? I was like, 15 to 20. And they were like, so see, that's not enough to like get a sample size of how well this will do. And really, like, it really didn't discourage me that much. I just felt deep down like maybe it was me being hard headed, but I was like, you're fucking wrong. Like, like you should see this going down at frats past 1 a.m. Like, it's fucking wild. And like that kind of drove me to add additions and get the currency feature for Boston's Boy, and really like kind of build out some shit that I knew would hit for the fans that we've been touring for, but also piss the fucking shit off of the hip hop game. Because that's really what we did. People were like, I've been doing hip hop for 20 years. And I'd be on Twitter like, congratulations, go feed your kid, my guy. Beat it. like I wasn't worried about anyone's opinions. I was just more focused on how to make the music better, how to make connections and network with people. And, like at the end of the day, we did most of it with just my production and Matty Harris running my boards and the engineer. Like, we did most of Boston's Boy at Cyber Sounds, half of it in Westlake, LA. And once you start building this like group of people that all care about a project, you start to build just like new layers and new waves, and it starts to just become a new just thing that you guys are in the studio, and it's like we don't even have to write songs anymore. It's like we're making beats, and it's like, bong, on that, listen to this, what do you think about this? Lines just come to you. It's like, as long as you're open to everything, it was a crazy process, because I was honestly just like a vehicle for whatever's tapping in from the universe. And like, we had to cut it down a lot from like getting hammered in the studio and smoking endless amounts of L's. It's like that was just getting in the way.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sitting here with like 10 backwoods rolled, and I'm like, oh, I can't think of anything. It's like, I wonder why, you fucking idiot. Like, it's not, it's not like the Goodwill Hunting equation on the board. It's like you just got to figure out that you got to smoke a little less and drink a little less.
Oh my god. The Goodwill Hunting formula. Oh, you're an animal. Talk the team building though, right? That's a really important aspect, that not even music production, like literally anything that you're trying to do at a high level, you need people around you that support you, that can help you. How has that over the years, how have you gone about finding the right people? You even made a comment before where you've gone through 3 managers at one point. How have you navigated finding the right people and making sure that people are genuinely want to help you and they're not there just to take from you?
To be honest, it's always been a little bit of a struggle. Like, the guy that I the guy that I started to work with, Alex Stern, and we kind of took this from 0 to 100 with Boston's Boy. You know, we just had such like a sound relationship overall. And then when you get thrown into these, you know, we're getting flown out to LA to go have breakfast with Jimmy Iovine and Dre and go meet with all these studio execs that their own lawyers and music attorneys didn't even fucking blink at us when I took my music to them. But because it got some buzz and because of like the overall, you know, kind of like spotlight we were in, because there was like a little bit of how my shit was a scam. And I was like, this is wild. Like I just got out of Nielsen and SoundScan. And if those dudes run all the billboards, all the, like back then, all the iTunes numbers.
Yeah.
Like there's not 2 credit cards that are the same for anything. So people ran with that narrative, and you know, it was a little shitty for a while because, you know, I feel like that was a really whack thing to stigmatize someone's career and debut out of. Like I thought it was really whack that, you know, people would show me love, but not necessarily want to do a feature or want to get in the studio because there was this like red tape about, are these sales real? And I'm like, bro, if I could have bought that many records, I would have bought 500 fucking times that. Like, yeah, he has a rich father. I was like, where? Fucking out of your mind? Like, yeah, I honestly wish I had a rich father. It was like, he has a rich father. He's a politician. I'm like, yeah, he's a politician. Tell me where he's from. Like, what the fuck? Like Sammy Adams, the main, like, what is it? Fucking Marty Walsh, the man, my fucking dad. Get out of here.
Get the fuck out of here. The Bostonian in him.
Just a classic. So like that, I mean, the team building for me was like, it was really difficult. And then, you know, the OG like kind of had his problems, and I feel worse now in hindsight. Obviously hindsight's 2020, but I feel worse because who he brought in totally dogged him and made him seem like he was worse for wear. And I feel like he did a lot for me, and I wanted, you know, now I wish I was more of a fucking pillar for him to like be like, yo, come to me, we can get help, get you clean, all this shit. Yeah. Instead, the guy he brought in to partner up with him bodied him, and he was kind of like the number one person that people say like, this is some Hollywood ass shit. Because it's like, I worked my ass off to sell out House of Blues 7 times and sell out Roseland in New York, like after Lady Gaga. Like I worked my ass off to do that. And like with a label and with a manager who doesn't care about you, it's really hard to, you know, it's really hard to move the needle past where you are. And, you know, when this guy's in everyone's ear about, next year we'll be doing MSG, I'm like, please, like, bro, shut the fuck up. Because it's just so unrealistic. And one of my number one things for whether you're an artist under me or artist that wants, you know, advice, it's like, manage your expectations. Because the part about team building that's mad important is, yes, you should always like talk about new projects, new things that are exciting, but never over gas. Like honestly, under promise and over deliver. That's like a huge part of any entertainment industry, because like, in my opinion, there's so many people and there's so many smoke and mirror type situations where it's like, you know, what do you mean he doesn't have 9 McLarens in his garage? He said it in his song. It's like, bro, this man lives with like 7 dudes in fucking San Diego. Like, it's crazy because like at the end of the day, no one knows your truth. Like, you know it, but like, I feel like team building is extremely hard to do. Like, perfect example of who did a really, really proper job with that these days is Jack Harlow. Cause like he has Drewski's crushing it on his own, and Drama and all these dudes, and like Jack, I brought Jack on his first tour ever. And we were playing like shows down in the South and on the East Coast, like up and down. And to see what he's done is amazing, because I didn't have, we had videographers and photographers, but we didn't have many other personalities on tour that broke off. And we're always part of that squad. It was always kind of an eat situation from me. And I was just feeding everybody. So it's, the team building thing is really tricky. It gets political, especially when you have a label involved. It really comes down to like, you got to follow your gut. And for me, it's like, I didn't have a manager for 2 years, and we put out 3 to 4 songs and then an EP, and shit did lovely. Like we could go back on road again, and hiring a new team and new people to come on the road. It's like, the only person that's really undeniably been in my camp since day one is my production manager and lighting director. And he does big ass shit. So sometimes he has to say no when he's on a run with Rihanna or on a run with Taylor Swift or whoever. So, it's like those type of dudes, though, like in your heart, like they ride and die for you, and they'll come do smaller joints because it's just all out of love. And you took them from a place, where you were still doing shit at the Stone Pony in Asbury Park, and now you're doing fucking MetLife like 6 nights a week.
Yeah, it's huge. It's really cool when you can find those people and build up with them, and that at some point, if they do go on to a bigger career or like in their own ways, it's like a trust of bond of like, hey, maybe we have to go different ways right now, but to be able to rise together, to build each other up, to put each other both in positions to succeed, it's like the best case scenario.
And it's like I've also like I got absolutely stomped on by this one dude who like wanted to like buy my catalog. He was like, "Why are you so altruistic about people that have shit on you in the past?" And I was like, believe it or not, it's like I don't feel like I need to be angry at dudes anymore that got addicted to some shit or did some fucked up shit or had to do some jail time or whatever. It's like they've obviously made amends with whoever they prayed to and whatever they did, and it's none of my business. Like I'm never not gonna have love for people that helped, move the needle and kind of push the envelope for what we were trying to do. And there was a lot of pressure on everyone. Like what would you necessarily call our lane of music? And I was like, it's not a lane. There's not a genre. Like you can listen to a mixtape. There's rap, there's hip hop, there's R&B, there's dance music, there's alt rock, there's alt pop, there's all types of shit. I never wanted to be pigeonholed into like what RCA kind of did with me of like, let's make him a pop star. And that's ultimately what never worked for me, because I never felt like that was an honest portrayal of my talent and skills. Like I'll bar up on a track, but I don't necessarily need to get like, put in, the rap battle scene with certain dudes. But it's like always been for me fun to experiment. And it's like a big science project of cooking up a bunch of shit. Like, you go from doing records with guys that are relatively unknown, and you end up liking the records you make with them more than the ones you make with Pharrell and like a bunch of other dudes. And some dudes just have that sound quality and like the perfect vibe for the moment. And it's like, I think everyone gets a little bit ahead of themselves in terms of like, damn, like the fans really need this right now. And I'm like, would you rather drop a joint that's like 75% gas or wait another 2 months and drop it when there's no qualms? It's absolutely fire head to toe.
Yeah, I think a person that, when you're just describing that, like not wanting to drop things when you're not necessarily ready, is like John Bellion. That man has always just sat in the pocket of like, you're gonna get music when I am ready to do that. And I don't think people understand like what it emotionally, physically, mentally takes to do that, to write, to create, to own up to your own truths of your own journey and like to just willingly put that out there to the world. So I think it's really important to acknowledge that and like, hey, I'm not ready to put this out yet. Like,
Oh,
I
of
don't need to
course.
do the Russ formula, drop a song every single week for 2 years straight. It's like once you get to that place where you can successfully pay your bills and live and breathe your career, it's like, why would you want to rush the art and put things
Of
out when you're not even confident with it?
of course. And it's like, there's so many different uh not to get clapped by COVID, but there's so many different variants to this bitch.
Mm.
Like Russ does his indie shit and Drizzy does his absolutely not indie shit. But it's like, it's like whatever works, and there's something about like sticking to your guns and staying like consistency is key, but
Mm.
there's a lot of people that think consistency is just throwing some mid-ass bars on a fucking song and auto-tuning the shit out of them. And it's like, for me, it's like I've built a fan base to this point, and it's almost like it used to really piss me off when people are like, "Are you still making music?" And it's like, the fuck do you mean, bro? Like, you out of your mind? Like, bruh, like, no, I'm fucking working at I'm working at Market Basket now. Fucking, you're looking for aisle 9. Fucking idiot. It's like, dude,
Oh my god.
like,
You have such a good attitude about all these fucking people that just want to chirp you. I love it.
well, I mean, it happens so much. It's like, bro, come up with some new shit. Like, cause
Uh,
none of that shit's gonna
do
get under
your
my skin.
research. Do your fucking research.
And it's like, I think there's a lot of formulas to success with the amount of different like people and sounds that are coming into the world. Like what might work for us, it doesn't work for someone that's trying to, it's like, even if you have $50,000, like
Yeah.
you could put that 50K from someone or an investor into your song, and you might not even catch an editorial on
Yeah.
Spotify. And like, what you have to do is really, it's like this kind of vicious cycle. And I think we're coming around to a cycle again of people really like to find music, and it doesn't necessarily need to come from Apple or come from Spotify. It's like the word of mouth train where people are excited about music is starting to make its way back, and real hip hop starting to make its way back. And it's like bedroom pop is almost bigger than pop now. Like
Mm,
Olivia Rodrigo's, the Claros from Boston, like Griff, like Canada is murdering the game right now in
yeah.
terms of every different genre. And I think that it's worth it to wait and make everything kind of sonically be put together well.
Yeah.
Like if you're a Dua Lipa, you're someone, you probably have 8 A&Rs. So God bless you if you're fucking winning a Grammy. But like that shit does not happen to normal people, like
Yeah.
at all. So it's a really interesting like juxtaposition of like these people that are huge up here, and then like you said, the John Bellion, which he's still up here because man's
Yeah.
just signed to like Pixar or some shit. Like, bro, that's not even a label.
Yeah. They made a pocket for him.
It's
Just
like
writing bangers for Justin Bieber and
I mean,
everybody else.
and it's crazy. It's like that. I think that takes time, and if you don't have the confidence to put the brakes on it and work on it more, look, you're going to lose investors, you're going to lose fans. But at the end of the day, it's more important to make music that if it does pop off, you're going to want to make and perform it for the rest of your life than make some cheese dick fucking single that you have to go play at every radio show and you're known as that guy.
That guy.
You
Yeah.
know?
Isn't it what you said though before? It's like you can watch the way other people move and strategically drop or whatever it might be, but you can't just assume that what's worked for somebody else is going to work for you. And I think that's something that I've always had to continuously remind myself is like, I'm writing the story of my own journey every single day. There's no wrong or right way to do it. I can pick
100%.
and I can learn from what other people are doing. But because it's worked for somebody else doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for me. But I can learn from them, and I can incorporate that into my life. But it's you have to understand that and not have these high expectations that, well, if it works for these guys, it's definitely going to work for me.
Yeah, and I think along the same lines in terms of anything progressive. Like it's one of those things where you have to, and like it's like why 100% of the time I try to keep a journal about my life, because shit flies by these days. And when you have like a real moment with yourself in the studio, it's good to jot those things down. Like
Mm.
this verse almost brought me to tears. This verse was like, I finally like, I found like that just invigorated fucking angry me, but channeled it to a way different writing process than just sounding like a dude that just bodied a bottle of Tito's.
Mm.
Like, it's like it takes time to work on your craft and everything. And with like what we were talking about before with social media and TikTok and Instagram and all these things, it puts more of like a timer on what you do, because people are constantly wanting new music or wondering what happened to you or what have you. And like, really, none of that shit matters. Like, time is a man-made concept. Like, if it takes me 2 years to drop the best project in my life, it'll probably take 4 years.
Yeah. Yeah. If you see the key that I've learned with social media is out of sight, out of mind. So don't be
100%.
don't keep a tab on what everybody is doing, because then you're gonna have the comparison trap. You're gonna have FOMO. That's when you start feeling this pressure of like, I'm not doing enough, or maybe I need to speed things up faster. When it's like, just slow down. Let everyone else do what they need to do, but don't feel that you have to meet these expectations that we just create internally. Like you said, time is a man-made concept, and it's like,
Of course.
by scrolling and seeing other people make moves and all that, you either let that inspire you to recognize, like, okay, you see them winning, like if they eat, so can we, or you then are like, wow, I need to start dropping shit sooner because they just dropped their album, and like time is ticking,
And yeah, I think most importantly too, it's like it's difficult. I feel like it's difficult for people to get just like comfortable with being alone in this new kind of digital world. And there's nothing I love more than like when I have time away from literally everyone, wifey, my brother, like my fam, all my boys, to just listen to shit and not, there's always some kind of subconscious judgment when someone's around. And like, that's why I started moving shit away from like professional studios and built a studio in my house, because I really didn't care at all about other people's opinions. But in the creation process, in the first part of the process, I don't want any subconscious or conscious judgment of my shit besides me. So writing all that shit in my house and being able to make new things, it's almost like I like digressed back to where I was in college, because I didn't give a fuck what people thought. But at the same time, I was also a little ostracized from the people in my house and people that were always going out. It's like, bet, like, you know where to find me. Like, I will be on Logic at all times.
Yeah.
Making music. And I think that's a really important piece of kind of, making your way to where you want to be, whether you're, a producer, songwriter, singer, whatever it is. You have to be comfortable alone before you're comfortable as who you are in front of other people.
Yeah. I love that. Going back to the roots of like when you were in the dorm room, right? It's like there's nothing but opportunity to where you're going to go. And when you have no budget to make the music, you're literally using your mic, your MacBook, your dorm room. You may be putting up some sheets to create like a sound barrier. But then what happens is, as success happens and you have access to these things, it's like you expect, like, yeah, I should be going to the studio, even though it's going to be costing me $500 an hour. And now I'm literally forcing myself to like sign up to then go create, where it's like sometimes that shit just happens in the moment, you know, like being able to have access to your own studio at any moment in time. You don't have to tell yourself like, oh, now it's time to go do the work. It's like, if I'm feeling right now, I can dive right in. And if it's not, then so be it. But I think that's a really important thing to recognize. Like, I don't need all of these extra shit. Like, let's just keep it to the bare bones and make it work with what I've got access to.
Yeah, and it's like like you made a really good point of like just using the basics of what you have and
simplicity.
And it's like what's crazy is like I was like spending time during like what I was supposed to be doing, like office hours and shit, in a computer lab, like on Fruity Loops and making beats. And it took me a long time to realize, here, let me shift this. I told you the sun's gonna start to fuck with me. I thought he was gonna be cool, but he fucked with me, bro.
Little adjustment. There we go. We're dialed in.
But like, you know, it's crazy because when life speeds up and takes you to a different kind of, you know, a different kind of realm for me. Like, I never thought I'd have a song on the radio. I never thought I'd sell 1 million records. And this is like before, you know, before fucking streaming. Like, just I sold 1 million records before streaming, like sales. Like, I never thought in my mind that would ever happen. But there was also a little bit of me that got battered by, you know, critics, people that were just like not into my style of music. And I was so young at that point. I was 21, 22. So your ego takes a beating, but at the same time, it's one of the most important beatings I've ever taken, because I'd rather have that happen to me when I'm young and be able to shift my whole outlook on the world and realize that no one's opinion really matters. Like, I was trying to prove haters wrong instead of prove everyone that believed in me right.
Ooh. Or even just prove yourself. Prove to yourself what you're capable of actually accomplishing.
And it's like, when you are ready and mature enough to make that move, trust me, it is a lot more plentiful. And you also like, you don't have like egg on your face from making mistakes or clapping back at people. You're just literally a better version of yourself, because you're honestly recognizing the people that believed in you from day one. And most of those people won't go anywhere. Like, they're not just going to up and absolutely leave on the situation. It's like, you just, instead of feeling the pressures of making more music and better music, you start to get new invigoration and new influence and new, like, oh fuck, let's put this shit down tonight. Like, because it's like such a crazy easy thing to like move to LA and then boom, your inspiration and like everything you were good at is like, where the fuck did that shit go?
How long did you live in LA for?
I lived in LA before I moved to New York. I lived in LA for like 6 months to a year. We were like pretty much on tour the whole time. Maybe spent like 2.5 months in LA. And it was like crazy because it was like this bidding war of what label, what publisher we're going to go to. So it was amazing because honestly, it was like everyone's wine and dining us for a year. And, you know, it's like, we'll put you up here. And like, coming from having 69 cents in my fucking bank account at Trinity College, I'm gonna buy mad weed. Let's go. And it's like, you know, it was a crazy time because it felt like extremely surreal. And, you know, I still kind of have like the hindsight, wish I did this, wish I did that. But to be honest, like, the overall goal of what I set out to do for not just me, my fans and the music, we hit. So it's like finding new goals and new things to kind of reach for is like the most exciting thing in the world. Cause like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we were talking about before, like acting, producing more records, like movie scoring, like shit like that. Cause like there's so many different aspects to like the entertainment world
Yeah,
than just what you do. And it's like, I'm sure you feel that way too about like, you know, having a podcast, but it can branch into so many things. Like there's so many
totally.
deltas and like things that it can just absolutely bleed into, but you have to make yourself available for that. And I think for a long time, my problem was like, I wasn't always ready to be in the studio, or I was on tour too long and wanted to be in the studio, or in the studio too long and wanted to be on tour. And like the best quote ever is like, when it comes to creative endeavors, like luck is a skill. Like you need to set yourself up. So when that opportunity comes to knock, you fucking blast that shit or fucking alley oop dunk that motherfucker.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's like without, you know, without a team and without um you having that undeniable belief that you can do it, it weighs a lot on you just as a solo act. Like it's crazy. And like so when you have people that big you up no gas, but they'll also tell you like the song you did last night fucking sucks.
Hmm.
It's like you need those guys. Like you can't
Yeah.
just have a group of yes men telling you everything's a hit, because it's not. And you know, it's like there's certain things that in in my opinion, the best piece of advice I've ever been given is like, oh, you're a musician. Great. Like, are you successful? It's like, yeah, fairly. And they're like, keep your parallels open. And within 3-4 years of sometimes, you know, me questioning like, am I really built for this? It's like, well, remind yourself of what you've done.
Yeah.
And also like just remember most of the people you've worked with, it's not like you fell off. Like they'll recognize who you are. You did weeks with them, months with them, like made a lot of music with them. So it's like use those relationships to, I don't know, maybe get more into the production lane or write some songs with these dudes. Cause at the end of the day, it's like if you just give up, everyone that said shit about you wins. And it's like
Yeah.
I've never been ready to do that.
I think the biggest thing is recognizing that you can never be afraid to recreate your identity. I think
Right.
a great example is there's a lot of people in this world that I was talking to somebody yesterday, and this woman had said that she had spent 6 years working in the healthcare industry and the PR aspect, and she's like, I feel pigeonholed because that's all of my career, and I don't know if that's what I want to do. I don't think anybody else is going to want to hire me. And I was like, no, you're literally creating that narrative in your mind. The only thing that needs to
Absolutely.
happen for you to recreate your identity is to then just say, I'm ready to change, and then do it. But I think so many times people get caught up in looking at their past, and instead of using that as fuel, they actually use that as like a lock of like, I'm Sammy Adams. I'm the recording artist. I've toured. I can't be an actor. I can't be maybe a podcaster.
Right.
I can't be the guy that's creating Apple playlists. Like there's all these other avenues that you can totally do if you give yourself the permission to say, fuck it, I'm going to try this and I'm going to see how it goes. And maybe it's not going to work out, but at least I tried it and I can live with that and move on to the next thing.
Yeah, and the only thing that's holding people back from doing that is, you know, like it's themselves.
Mm,
And like it's what's wild too is like I feel like for most jobs, and like whether it's like working a 9 to 5 or, you know, being a musician, being an actor, being a writer or whatever, there's so many just ways that it's so fucking easy to get in your own head. And if you're doing that, like I've been there before mad times, and it's self-polluting, and you don't need to do that because all the what ifs, they don't even exist for you to
yeah.
dwell on if you fucking go out and just try it. And
Yeah.
like I work at Apple Music now, like as like literally I thought it was just a side hustle, and I've been there for almost 3.5 years, and it's been an incredible process because I was like, I can't go and be like a radio personality on Apple, and they're like, well, we don't want you to be. Like, we want you to deliver music and have interesting things to say about it that tie it to pop culture and why you like the music and why it's good. And it's like, that shit is mad fucking easy for me.
Mm.
Like, and sometimes it's hard because you have to, you have 20 playlists and you have to come up with different things to say about some of the certain songs. There might even be songs you don't really like, but you have to find the good parts of those songs because you can't just shit on someone's song because you don't
Yeah.
like it. And it's crazy because like that is a perfect example of how I shifted from just recording artists on tour all the time to I like literally almost have a full-time job for doing shit that I love and listening to music. So it's like if I was to never go in there because I was like, nah, like I'm a recording artist, like I'm an artist, I'm not a radio guy, I would have caught a big ass L.
Ladies and gentlemen, quick break from today's episode, and then we'll get right back to it. I am super excited to announce that I have officially launched my Patreon page. Now, some of you guys and gals listening might be going, what in the world is that? Patreon is an incredible platform. It allows creators like myself to build out different tiers of ways in which people, the community of the creator, can support that creator. And as many of you have been maybe following for quite some time, this has always been a passion project for me. Podcasting, posting on Instagram, all this stuff has really just been a slow growth of brick by brick building over the years. Now, I'd be lying if I didn't say that I didn't want to do this full time, because I do. And I'm starting to find different avenues and ways in which I can monetize this, turn this into my career, and reinvest the money to help take all of this content to the next level. So with my Patreon page, it allows you to do one thing, contribute $5 a month if you so choose to do so. I would really appreciate if you would consider it, especially if you're enjoying this content. I'm calling this one and only tier rocket fuel. So this $5 a month is only adding more fuel to this rocket of the content that we're creating. It'll be used to reinvest into everything that we're trying to do, and really try to take things to the next level, whether it's the podcast, whether it's a newsletter, whether it's a couple other things that I'm working on behind the scenes. I really do want to get into a space where we're putting out content every single day. So if you're enjoying any of this content at all and you'd like to support in any way possible, please head to patreon.com today /Bobbbaay. That's patreon.com/BO, 3 B's, 4 A's, and a Y. I will also have that linked up in the description of this episode below. All it is, $5 a month, add fuel to the rocket. You can cancel at any time, and it would be so much appreciated. So please, if you're enjoying any of this content that I produce, all that I ask is you consider contributing $5 a month, the cost of a cup of coffee, probably depending on the city that you live in. And that would be so much appreciated. So please, patreon.com/Bobbbaay. That's patreon.com/BO, 3 B's, 4 A's, and a Y. Add some fuel to the rocket, and let's get this thing shooting to the moon, baby. Back to the episode. Yeah. How do you think people learn to be open-minded? Because that's what, to me, I'm hearing is you're open-minded to just whatever comes across your plate. You're willing to listen, see if something aligns, and then kind of move forward. How do people learn to be more open-minded?
I don't know. I mean, I think being open-minded, it can come from a multitude of things, but I think when you're the least confident about an opportunity, I think that's when it takes like the kind of deep thinking of like, I might not be able to do this, and that should like set off an alert in your head, like, let's get out of the comfort zone.
Yeah.
Like, let's get out of like being on a tour bus, being in a studio, being in a fucking crib in the hills in LA. Let's get out of that zone and kind of like go down a path that it might blow up in your face, but it might blow up your bank account, bro. Like,
yeah,
you never fucking know. And I feel like a lot of the time it's a personal choice to kind of be like, nah, that's not really my lane. And that's the easy way out. Like, to be like going up against 15, 20 other people that all have, you know, broadcasting and radio backgrounds. I didn't think I had a fucking shot in hell. But the way I talked about records and like made jokes and like did funny shit, like no one was like actually bringing their character into these little snippets of songs they were talking into. And once I felt like I was okay injecting my personality into it, it's like you got London
All day.
and LA and NY, like this kid's fucking hilarious. So, and like you have other people that are like, he kind of took it too far there. And I'm like, bet. I'm like, I can scale it back, you know? But to like overcome that for me was such a sick experience because like it took years to get any respect, you know, from people other than the you know, women and guys that brought me in. So it was like, it's like, look, you got to earn your stripes, and it's kind of like anything in this world. You got to make waves, and you got to be out of your comfort zone to kind of find a new dimension of success that like is actually exciting to you. Because a lot of the time, you know, people get bored. It's like even dudes with $100 million, like they need a job because life fucking sucks when you're not doing something you're passionate about.
Yeah. Yeah, friends of mine started a brand called Seek Discomfort, and I couldn't agree more with the intent of the clothing line, which is really to just continuously push yourself to do the things that fear you. And I'm not saying jump in front of a car and do anything that's going to get you killed, but if there's a beautiful girl that you see walking down the road and you're like, man, this woman is attractive, like shoot the shot. Or there's a job that you're really interested in and you're like, once again, I don't think I'm the artist. I don't know if I could do it. Go for it. Like there's nothing you have to lose. And when we attack those things that that make us uncomfortable, we learn from it. We grow. We become more confident because we actually start to see like things come from it, come to fruition. But I love that, and I remind myself that very often is continuously seek discomfort. When there's those things where it's like this year I decided in the fall I'm going to be running the LA Marathon. It's like the fact and the idea of running 26 miles is scary, but when you do it, when you actually put in the hours and you actually work towards it, it then becomes easier, and then it's actually possible. So I think that's the key. Is you have to chase after the things that actually are interesting to you, but also scare you at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, it's like it's so prevalent in so many like so many different you know, lanes, not just the entertainment industry or like kind of the online world, like the social media world. It's it's with everything, and I think overall, like that type of thing is like rarely talked about with just like regular shit. I mean, it's like, bro, why are we learning poli sci? Like, can you fucking teach us how to do checks and balances?
I know.
Pay taxes, maybe.
I know. The world's got to change,
you know,
man. The educational system needs to change.
Well, it's crazy because, you know, it's like, okay, dope. Like I've been learning about fucking Zeus and Machiavelli, and I'm about to graduate next year. How the fuck do I pay my fucking rent and taxes?
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. And it's like, once you get into the actual world, it's like, holy shit, there's a lot of things I don't understand. And like, I think that we're already at, like, obviously these are 100% first world problems, but we're already behind when we're stepping out to like go get jobs or go work summers somewhere, and then you graduate college or you don't graduate college, and then there's a whole different stigma that comes into your mind about, why would I be able to get this job? Why would I be able to do this? And it's like, the more you doubt yourself, it's like, I would much rather go out and try things and have, because everyone's always going to be better than you at something.
Totally.
I would rather catch a bunch of L's and know that I worked my ass off and tried to do it than been sitting somewhere like super unhappy. Like, why did I not just try that? Like, maybe that would have worked. And it's like, those are the moments where you realize that you really do need to take every opportunity that comes your way. Because it's like, maybe it's not that most high paying job or not what you really want to be doing with your life, but you have to make sacrifices to basically right the ship towards where you want to sail it. Like, there's never a career that just goes exactly the way you plan it, besides maybe Drake and Post Malone.
Yeah, the what if factors, that's something that I cannot live with. So I always continuously just like, I don't even overthink it anymore. I just put action and I learn along the way. And there was a great podcast I did a couple months ago with a founder of a company by the name of Liquid IV. And he said it's either there's no such thing as failure. It's either a winning decision or it's a learning opportunity. And it's, when you look at it in that perspective, it's like, cool. So this is either going to work out to my favor or I'm going to learn something and then move on from it.
Yeah. And it's, you know, I mean, one of the main things too about the quote unquote failure aspect is like, you know, it's like your boy from Liquid IV, like that is, it's all just a learning experience.
Yeah.
And if you're already in your head about, you know, what people think before, you know, you take a leap of faith to do it, it's like, you're just like too in your head. You got to get to the point where you're willing to take a leap of faith and catch L's, but L's are experience. Like, you know, it's like, there's even been shows where it's like, I learned from this show that, you know, you never retaliate to people in crowds because that just fuels them even more. Or like learning to actually have a balanced diet and balanced like week on tour. It's not like you can't survive when you're doing 200 days a year. Like, and it's like constantly boozing that much. It's like you have to go through detox processes to like actually get healthy again. It's like all those things, you know, we had to cancel shows, do a bunch of shit. And I was like, you know what? I was like, I would rather take these L's, take the hit on, you know, the money side than continuously just be fucking your body up all the time.
Yeah. Because at some point it's not gonna last. Your body's your number one vehicle.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, it's like literally, like I always fucking laughed and people are like, health as well. It's like, it literally is. Like, if you don't have that, like you can have the most money in the world and still be just like, you're basically just tossing out a lifeline. And you're like, once you get to the point where you're partying all the time, you either become an addict or, you know, shit starts to go downhill. And more than likely, like everyone that's around you handles situations really poorly. Like if everyone's hammered, it's like things escalate. And, you know, some of the biggest wins we've had on tour are like, honestly, from lessons we learned before, seeing other camps do this and us just dropping a little dime on them, like, yo, don't get clapped for doing this and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And it's like, they may say fuck you at first, but at the end of the day, like they'll look back in hindsight and appreciate it. And
I read 50 Cent's book a couple months ago, and a really interesting learning that I didn't realize, and it just shows you the perception was right on, is that he really wasn't a big drinker and still doesn't drink that much to this day. And when he would do club appearances, when he was in his prime, he would have one of his guys take the bottle of whatever was at their table, go out back, dump it,
put water in it.
And they would put water in it. And so he would be sipping on it the entire night. And it was the perception of like he's getting hammered, like he's in the club. But he said the reason he did that was, one, he didn't like drinking because he wasn't himself. And he said anytime he was sober in these environments, he could read the room. And if anything popped off, he was able to, you know, pivot, get out of there, not do anything stupid. And so reading that and seeing that, I was like, wow, this is unbelievable, because it's like growing up listening to 50 Cent, I'm like, this guy just rages and he parties, and I see the music
Yeah.
videos, and it's literally just the perception of the branding of like this big dude that can rap his ass off and he drinks, but that wasn't the case at all.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, that's a perfect example of smoke and mirrors. And
Yeah.
it's like, that's like it's super real, because there's so many people, and like the common knowledge from the general public of rappers and this and that is, it's like there's like a 0.01% of rappers that can stunt and do what they want at all times, and the rest of it is like all part of like the smoke and mirrors and kind of like fake it till you make it type shit. I honestly, like, I've never worn diamonds. I've never bought extravagant whips. Like, there's so many better investments to make with your money. And like, I think was one of the things that helped me, was that like, I didn't really want to do the smoke and mirror thing and, have a red hat like Fred Durst, or dye your hair like Eminem. I didn't need a gimmick. I didn't want a gimmick. And that was always something that labels pushed, and I was like, this shit is so corny, bro. like if people like my music, why isn't that enough? And like, there's just so many lanes too where you can like invest in yourself, of course. Like, that's one of the number one things I did, but also like, go out of your way to learn how to save your money. Cause I mean, even just like on the side of what I do and with Apple Music, it's like, I'm always looking for ways to come up, and always looking for ways to, like, return all of my, like, it's hard to like really get some shit that I can invest into that I honestly care about half of the time. So it's like, you need someone else in your life to like show you the ropes of how to do shit. And I think you get a little bit tangled up in your mind when, you have some clout and you have some fame and some money, and you just think, you shit ice cream. And it's like, bruh, it's like that's when you start to lose, because you're not taking anybody's advice, and really that can become a situation where you have yes men around you, and they're like, no doubt, like, the verse was so fire, and it's fucking dog shit.
What have you learned about fame that has changed? Because obviously when you come up at 21, I always tell myself, the longer it takes me to like get to where I want to be, the better, like the better
100%.
version of myself I'm going to be. Cause where I'm at I'm 27 right now. We were talking about before, like, luck is literally just preparation. I'm more prepared for the big podcast opportunity than I was when I was 22 when I started doing this shit. But had I shot up like a rocket at 22, I would not have been able to mentally handle it. I would have made poor decision making versus where I am now. How much has your way of navigating fame or even success kind of goes hand in hand with that? How has that changed from when you were 21 to, I think you're 34 years young today?
Yeah, it's crazy, because it was always like something, and like, I wouldn't even say I had like a full domestic like reality of fame. Probably just like East Coast, maybe Midwest. The West Coast was like never really somewhere where I like found fame to be like real. But the more you want it, the more like trials and, I would say, like, tribulations come with. It's like a careful what you wish for type of dynamic, because it's like, it was incredible. I'm gonna move over because the sun's being a dick again.
Playing games
but
with you today.
but like, I think for the most part, like, the fame factor of it's cool. It can be unbelievable at times, but at the same time, it's hella annoying. to have to like, you know, kind of bite your tongue. You have to be very careful of what you say to people, because people come out of left field trying to get you on, you know, 4K saying some shit on video. And it's like, that's the
Yeah.
last thing you want to have happen. And like, they'll go to extreme lengths to try to get you to like snap. So that part sucks. Like, and then I'd say in general, it's like when you're that young, you don't really know what the fuck is going on. So you're like, at least for me, I was drinking too much. I was kind of like sounding off on dudes. Like we were all getting in fights way too much. And it was like over some really dumb shit. And now that like I'm at where I'm at in my life, I look at those moments that like people have on YouTube and I'm like, fuck.
You live and you learn though, brother.
100%. So it's like, you know, there's so many great parts to it, but at the same time, I think it is definitely something to postpone from like a young youth perspective. Definitely, you don't need to rush it, because if it's quality, the people will come. And I mean, I don't even know if there was like Instagram and Snapchat and TikTok when we first started touring. Oh boy,
it would have been a lot different.
It would have been wild. I mean, and it's, you know, we've also been through it in terms of touring and you know, knowing the markets we're in and linking up with like after parties for people in Minneapolis or Chicago or LA or New York. But it definitely came at the perfect time to kind of like kick me in my ass to get my shit together, you know?
Yeah. You got out there, you had your fun, a little bit wiser now.
100%.
Keep those stories in the back pocket for a rainy day and operate a little differently moving forward.
Yeah, exactly. I think the main goal too is like, you know, once you hit the milestones and things you really have your heart set on, it all changes and turns into like actual things and actual, not just like I want to be famous. It's like I want to sell this amount of records. It's like you realize that there's a lot more important things in the world, like giving back, being able to feed your family, being able to feed your boys. Like that shit is so much more important than I want a billboard on like La Brea or Santa Monica. It's like it's so much more important than the superficial and materialistic shit. And honestly, at the end of the day, like the people that have been with you and rode with you since day one, there's no one else that's more deserving than them.
Yeah. It's important to recognize that, because material items and shit like that, in the moment, it's this adrenaline rush of like, wow, got the billboard, got this new pair of kicks, got the nice chain, got the new glasses, but it's immediately followed where like 3 days later, doesn't matter. And now you're reaching for the next high. And it's like this constant chase of like, need more, want more, buy more. But at some point you're going to recognize like, this is just going to be a hamster wheel of me chasing shit that isn't actually going to make me happy.
Yeah. And it never will. And I think a huge part of like, you know, having commercial success is you have to realize that some people won't get it. Like some people won't understand.
Yeah, they'll never get it.
Like what you're doing. And you know, it's like whether it's a sound guy that helped build the stage, or you know, a rigger that isn't part of your team, and it's like these guys aren't fucking musicians. Like they can't even play the guitar. It's like, you know what? It's like there's no reason to argue with old Greg over here.
Yeah.
This dude fucking helped set up Woodstock or whatever fucking bullshit lie he's gonna tell you.
Yeah.
So it's like at the end of the day, you gotta find what matters to you, and I don't know, when you get tossed into it super early, it's difficult to find that equal balance of what makes you happy and what matters, because things that make you happy, like going to the Louis store and Gucci store and fucking buying the bitch out, it doesn't make you happy at all.
Yeah.
It's like you know, might make someone happy somewhere, but at the same time, the materialistic stuff is it's like very subpar to things like kicking back to the people that care about you and have always had your back.
Yeah, it's important. Material is just gonna come and go, but experiences and people, that's the real secret sauce to me to happiness and success.
Couldn't
We're
agree
gonna
more.
we're gonna get into the final five now. These questions, either one word or worse, one sentence. The final five.
I thought you said one word or worse. I was like, am I doing a half word?
one word or one sentence. Sorry, I should have clarified that a little bit better. What self-care activities help you be your best self?
Exercise every morning.
Love that. Very important. I'm all for the morning sweat, so I love that.
Exercise and endorphins, super important.
Yeah.
Get those happy natural drugs just absolutely firing early.
Get them firing early. All right, you're gonna be running the Boston Marathon with me in April of 2022. So start running. All right, Chief.
Let's go.
Let's go. If you could go back and tell yourself one piece of advice at any point of your life, what would it be and when?
Stop drinking so much.
And when would you tell yourself that?
Probably like on my third or fourth tour, because it's like you just get sloppy, and there's always like I hate to like look back on things and be like, oh, like I was making this excuse for this excuse, and it's like the reality of it's like you don't drink that much, you're fucking golden. Like I'm making excuses that are because I was drunk a day before, another excuse, blah, blah, blah. It's just a spiral. It's like a never ending, just, snowball effect of bullshit. And it's like the quality of the show should progress every single time you're on tour. And that was one thing that I just kind of thought came with the territory. Like we just get fucked up every night. And I was like, that's not what it is.
Yeah.
The only thing getting fucked up in the long run is the way you sound on stage.
Yeah, cut out the booze a little bit here and there. What's an area of your life you need to put more effort into?
I think just like more like self-love, like giving myself credit. I've always been like the harshest critic of myself and never really, I think because I was thrown into the Hollywood scene and the New York scene. I think I honestly, like, I'm my harshest critic, but it extends beyond music. And for that, it's like, yes, we've done super well, but at the same time, like, remember all the highs, not just the lows, and like use that to fuel the new material, because no one wants to hear a sob story and we don't really have much to sob about. So like give yourself more credit and realize the small wins, because the small wins add up to bigger than your biggest wins.
Yeah. You got to be your biggest hype man or your biggest hype woman along the way. It's the crucial. You got to believe in yourself before the world does in reality. What's the first step anyone can take to reaching their inner potential?
Oh, that's a good one. I think I think that honestly comes down, I guess it's different for everybody, but inner potential, I think it goes back to just like that out of your comfort zone area. So I would say comfort zone as the answer to that one, because as long as you're in that little comfort zone, make a bunch of records or make a bunch of material content, whatever you do in your life, but then get out of it, because then you start to push yourself without even, annoying yourself. Like, oh, now I'm just like trying to be like, I'm trying to like flex on people. And it's like, once you find that you can exist and thrive out of your comfort zone, it like doubles your confidence. And and it makes you, it kind of opens up a lane that you thought was just not there and that you couldn't break through. And once you bust through that door, it's like, I mean, honestly, the potential is endless, like for what you can do. So
Yeah.
I think that's always been a big thing for me is I've felt comfortable so many times, and it's like, this is going to suck, but let's get on out.
Time to switch it up, baby. Time to hit the refresh
Get on
button.
out.
We're pushing on.
Exactly.
I love that. Last question for you. If somebody's listening to this podcast, they listen in for the last 72 minutes. What is one challenge you have for the listener today? As they wrap up and finish listening to this podcast, what is one challenge you have for the listener today?
Man, that's a really good one. I would say elevate. Like, that's the word I would use. Elevate how you think. Elevate by going a little bit harder in your workout you do at the gym. Elevate people around you. Like, try to stay as like real and consistent as who you are as a person, but work your hardest to like make this, and not entirely, but extremely negative, shitty world we live in a better place for other people besides you.
Yeah.
And like, I think that one's so important to me because it's like, even asking someone how they're doing when they're having a shitty week makes a huge difference. And it's like, I know personally because I'm like, damn, I haven't heard from this dude in 6 months. And like, it was really nice that he tapped in on me out of nowhere. You know, it's not even, and like, especially when they're not like, by the way, I'm going to need tickets to the Patriots game.
Like, yeah, then it's like, oh, and now I know why you're hitting me up.
It's like, oh, well, it's like, I really thought this guy was doing a solid, and never mind. So fuck that guy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, I don't think it's any one person's responsibility to change the world, but I think we all can individually change the world of the community, the people that we're around the most, and whatever magnitude that is. I don't expect anybody to go out there and lead the pack, but I think we all have some responsibility to change the world just a little bit in the right way for just where we are, who we are.
And it's like, you know, I think just to add on to that, no one's expecting anyone to just jump on the board and absolutely pave the way for everyone else. It's all like small random acts of kindness that can change for everyone. You know, it's like, and change someone's day. It's like, there's just so much, I feel like there's a lot of negative energy, and you know, whether or not it's for comedic value or just the fact that you're a dickhead, it's like everyone can always use a lift up, and it's really not that hard, and it's not going out of your way too much to just maybe you think of someone, and instead of thinking like, well, they haven't texted me in a year or 6 months, it's like, say, here you're having a tough time, like, hope you're doing well, because at the end of the day, we do not know when our last day is, and you know, there's a lot of people that I've lost that I haven't got to say bye to. So it's like, that's definitely something that sticks with me day in and day out. You know, whether we're on road or not, but yeah, just be a better person. You know, it's like, be the bigger man, the bigger woman. And you know, it's like, it's crazy because the amount of love that gets spread around isn't half as much as we need these days. So
yeah, light it up. Push it around.
Light it up, baby.
Light it up.
Light it up, baby.
Light them up. Sammy, this has been truly an absolute honor, man. Seeing you from afar for well over the last decade, definitely having raged my face off to your music many of times. I too am also in a different part of my life where I pick and choose my pockets, and it's not full send benders every weekend, but you better believe when I was going to school in Boston that your music was for sure on loop a lot of nights that we were raging either at my college or throughout the city. But honestly, just getting a chance to talk to you today has been really like inspiring and insightful, because I see you as you've not allowed yourself to be put into this box as just the recording artist. And I think you have been already inching yourself into other directions, but I think there's a whole nother wave that is bound to come that I'm excited to see unfold for you. And I would just say, keep doing you. And I don't even think you need that courage, because you already fucking do you. But you're truly a great dude. You're living your authentic life, which is so important. And I really do appreciate you taking the time to be on this podcast. I think people are going to love it. And I'm telling you right now, the amount of texts that I'm about to get hit from people that I went to college with and that I grew up with in Massachusetts, they're gonna love this episode. So sincerely, I appreciate you for taking the time to be on the show today, brother.
Nah, dude, honestly, let's do it again, because it's really nice to be able to, you know, talk shop, talk biz, talk everything. But at the end of the day, it's like there's a lot of there's a lot of unanswered things that people can find out, like, especially like from guests you've had on your podcast that I was watching. I'm like, holy shit, it gives you a different kind of angle of seeing someone that you didn't have before. And like I said before, any fucking time I do, it was an absolute pleasure.
Hey, everyone's got a story to tell, and I want to be the platform they tell the story. So come on back. We got many more to come as the chapters unfold.
Go, baby.
Ladies and gentlemen,
we're gonna have to coin light it up. Light it up.
Light them up. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this podcast today, I have a favor to ask. Please, whatever platform you were listening in on, screenshot this episode, post it to your IG story, tag Sammy. He's at Sammy Adams, SAMMY ADAMS. Tag me at Bobbbaaaay. That's BO, 3 B's, 4 A's, and a Y. Share out the podcast on your IG story. Let us know what the biggest takeaway was. What did you learn? How did this podcast help you? I would be so curious to learn, and so does Sammy. So please, if you took the time today, please share it out and let us know what you thought. Sammy Adams, thanks for coming on the show, brother.
Thank you, brother. See you soon.
It's the Bearded Man Podcast. See ya. Fire. Yeah.